Some months ago, I made a E1 vs S1 video talking about the characters we had before the version 2.0. Well, with the exception of Argenti and Huo Huo, because I simply forgot about them, and as I said and promised, the second part would come once we reach Euphorius. And in this video, I will talk about what's more valuable on every limited 5-star character between their E1 or S1 from 2.0 to 2.7, and also include both Argenti and Huo Huo for those fans that reminded me about them. So, without any furthers, my name is Dphenix and let's start. Starting from the version 1.5 with Argenti, since I forgot, it's a no-brainer that S1 is better. If you get his E1, each stack of his talent will start giving him 4% crit damage, making a grand total of 40% crit damage if you max it out. But this is where his S1 proves its strength, because it not only provides 36% crit damage, 4% less than his E1, but it also offers around 64% damage for all your Argenti's kit. So yeah, S1 is better. For Huo Huo, if you get her E1, her talent's healing will last for one extra turn, and she will also increase the speed of all allies by 12% as long as she possesses stacks from her talent. But her S1 offers totally different things, since it offers energy regen, extra healing for the ally with the lowest HP when anyone uses their ultimate, while also increasing the attack of allies healed up to a max of 12% for 2 turns. In my opinion, for Huo Huo, due to us already having a bunch of 4-star lightcons that work super well with her, I think the comfort E1 brings by giving free speed and making her SP friendly are way bigger advantages, so for her, E1 is better. Now, we are really starting with the Penacony cast, and let's start by version 2.0 with BlackSwan. Her E1 will reduce the res for the elements that enemies have DOT inflicted by 25% as long as BlackSwan is active in battle, and her S1 will offer you 40% effect hit rate and offer a max of 20% attack and 20% defense ignore on dots for BlackSwan depending on the number of different debuffs enemies have. It's already common knowledge that res pen is more valuable than defense ignore or attack buffs, and the combined fact that her E1 applies for everyone on the team and you also have 4-star lightcon options to help you with the effect hit rate requirements, I think it's safe to say that her E1 is more valuable. For Sparkle, the situation is a bit difficult, since on the current meta, none of the options make a huge difference. But there is still a clear winner. With her E1, the Cypher effect provided by her ultimate will last for one extra turn, and all allies with Cypher will have their attack increased by 40%. And her S1 will provide Sparkle 32% crit damage, and all your team an extra 10% crit rate and 20% crit damage. After considering everything, her S1 only provides crit value for your teams. Something that is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not useful on some characters, especially on well-built characters. So, due to the fact that by choosing her E1, you will be providing damage longer and increasing your team's attack, and you will also have space for a Dance on Sparkle for example, I will have to say that her E1 is better. Now, moving to the version 2.1 with Acheron. Her E1 will give you 18% crit rate when attacking debuffed enemies, and her S1 will offer you 36% crit damage, 24% damage, and an extra 24% ultimate damage, and most important, it will give you a new debuff when attacking enemies. On Acheron's case, her E1 is not amazing, but it's not useless. But when compared to a lightcon that provides a bunch of damage and an extra stack every time she attacks, there is no way her E1 would win. So for Acheron, her S1 is miles better. For Aventurine, his E1 will now increase the crit damage of all allies protected by his shield by 20%, while now allowing his ultimate to also provide a guaranteed shield equal to the one from his skill for 3 turns. But, while his E1 focuses on sustain and team buffs, his S1 offers Aventurine a high base defense combined with a 40% defense and crit damage for Aventurine, while also having a chance for his follow-ups to inflict a debuff that increases enemies' damage taken by 10% for 2 turns. So, even though both are good additions to his kit, I think his S1, due to increasing his damage, making it easier to build him, and applying debuffs, it will be the most popular pick among both of them, so S1 is better. Now, moving to the version 2.2 with Robin. Her E1 will increase the res pen of all allies by 24% while in the Concerto, and her S1 will provide a powerful damage buff, a ton of attack, adding to her team-wide attack buff, and much needed energy regen. But, even though in paper her S1 sounds better, the energy it provides is clunky since she loses the stacks after ulting, and she has good 4-star alternatives, and one of them is completely free. So, due to these reasons, and by res pen being extremely broken, her E1 is definitely better. For Boothill, His E1 will give him 1 stack as soon as the battle starts, and every time Boothill deals damage, he will ignore 16% of the enemy's defense. But with his S1, Boothill will get 60% break effect, 20% defense ignore from break damage, and 12% speed increase if your Boothill break effect is 150% or more. So even though his E1 is nice, and there are now more accessible light guns that provide break effect for him, his S1 is still the better choice. Now, moving to the version 2.3 with one of the most famous waifus, Firefly. Her E1 will make her enhanced skill ignore 15% over the target's defense while making it not consume skill points. And her S1 will offer Firefly 60% break effect and increasing enemies' break damage taken by 24% and lowering their speed by 20% for 2 turns when dealing break damage to them. Some people may think her S1 is a better pick, but Firefly has access to some great light guns that don't require any pulls, and the fact that her E1 is such a quality of life change, I will say that her E1 is better than her S1. For Jade, the situation is similar. Her E1 will increase the follow-up damage by 32% while guaranteeing now at least 3 stacks whenever the Debt Collector attacks. And her S1 will offer 16% crit rate, up to 48% follow-up damage, and allowing your ults and follow-up attacks to ignore 20% of the target's defense for 2 turns after using a basic attack. Like I said, Jade's situation is similar to Firefly, where her E1 provides a great quality of life update to her kit, while her S1 increases her own damage. Due to the fact that Jade has a lot of good light cone options, I will say that her E1 is better due to the comfort it provides on different teams and non-AoE content. For the version 2.4, we are going to start by talking about Yunli. Her E1 will increase the damage of her ultimate counter attacks by 20%, while also giving Intuit Call 3 additional damage instances. Her S1 on the other hand will increase Yunli's chances of getting attacked, while also increasing her crit damage by 36%. And, to finish it on a perfect note, it will also increase her follow-up damage to 72% depending on the number of times you use your ultimate. Even though her E1 is a good damage increase, especially if you time her ults correctly, her S1 is just that good and is for sure the best pick. So, S1 wins. Now for Jiaoqiu, his E1 will increase the damage allies deal to enemies inflicted with Ashen Roast by 40% and will also inflict 1 extra stack by triggering the Talents effect. And, on his S1, Jiaoqiu will get 60% effective rate while also increasing the damage taken by enemies by 10% or 14% depending if they get a DOT effect or not. Both are good increases for him and his teams, but I will declare his S1 the better pick due to helping you focus on other stats like speed instead of just effective rate. So, S1 is better. Now moving to the version 2.5 with General Feixiao. Her E1 will continuously increase her ultimate stacks damage by 10% up to 50%, meaning that it will gradually increase her ultimate damage. And her S1 on the other hand will offer Feixiao 15% crit rate and up to 54% defense ignore on ultimate damage depending on the number of follow-up attacks she does before using her ultimate. I don't know about you all, but for me there is only one clear winner, and that's for sure her S1. For Lingsha, her E1 will increase her weakness break efficiency by 50% and will reduce enemies' defense by 20% when they have their weakness broken. And her S1 will increase Lingsha's break effect by 60% and increase enemies' damage taken by either 10% or 18% depending if you have at least 150% break effect or higher after using your ultimate. Both options are amazing, but her E1 is more focused toward break teams, while her S1 can be used on any team you pair her with. And since she's one of the best sustainers in the game, her S1 is for sure the better pick. Now moving to the version 2.6 with Rappa, the only new 5-star on that patch. On her E1, Rappa ignores 15% of the target's defense during her ultimate state, and after exiting this state, she regenerates 20 energy. And on her S1, Rappa will get 60% break effect, receive 30 energy when entering battle, and advancing her action by 40% after using 2 basics during her ultimate state. Even though both are amazing options, her S1 is going to be better in almost every situation due to the action advance being incredibly powerful and because erudition options for Super Break are extremely limited. Now, for the version 2.7 and the last version we are going to talk about in this video, we are going to start by talking about Sunday. And as an E6 Sunday haver, you gotta trust me on this one. His E1 will allow the target of his skill to ignore 16% of the enemy's defense and their summon to ignore 40% of the enemy's defense for 2 turns. And his S1 will give Sunday 6 energy for every skill or ultimate used on an ally, while also increasing the damage of the target of his skill or ultimates by up to 45%, and to top it all out, after every 2 skills or ultimates used, Sunday recovers 1 skill point. Even though both are amazing, the clear pick here is his S1 due to the quality of life updates it brings, so for him, his S1 is better. And to finish this video, we have the last limited character launched on the versions 2.x, Fugue. On her E1, the target with Foxian Prayer has their weakness break efficiency increased by 50%, and on her S1, Fugue will get 60% break effect and have a chance to inflict a debuff on enemies once they get broken that increases the break damage taken by up to 36%. After hearing all this, her S1 doesn't seem that special compared with her E1, and the fact that you have a bunch of accessible Nihility light guns for her only makes it easier to take this decision. So for her, E1 wins and it's not even close. So, was I able to help you making a decision on what to pick for these characters? Thank you so much for staying until the end. If you like my content, don't forget to leave your sub and to like this video. As I said on the last video, the next part will come once we are done with Amphorius, which means on the versions 4.x. A special thanks to my members for trying to support me even more. My name is Dphoenix, and don't forget to follow me on my socials. Thank you so much for staying until the end, stay safe and have an amazing day.